Today, Bitcoin looks to stem its losses in the cryptocurrency's worst week since 2023. The SEC says most meme coins are not securities, and Kit Addleman of Haynes Boone breaks down the shift in the SEC's attitude toward digital currencies. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Crypto markets in the red this morning to cap off a week of sweeping losses for digital assets. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin held flat at the $84,000 level, but that's after dipping as low as the $78,000 level earlier in the morning. Ether fell more than 3%, while Dogecoin dropped nearly 5%. Now, crypto significantly underperformed broader markets this week. While the S&P 500 index lost 2%, Bitcoin dropped 11% in its worst week in more than a year. Ether tumbled 15% and Dogecoin sunk by 17%. Crypto is struggling to find its next catalyst as the pace of good news from the Trump administration on the crypto front slows and weak U.S. economic data continues to hamper risk assets. All right, let's talk about the top stories. The SEC has officially moved to dismiss its lawsuit against Coinbase. A joint filing from the two parties requested dismissal of the case, but notes this decision, quote, does not necessarily reflect the commission's position on any other case. The SEC says this decision comes in light of pending work of the agency's crypto task force, which was formed the day following President Trump's inauguration and the departure of former chair Gary Gensler, who led the agency when it brought the case. Yesterday, the regulator's acting chair, Mark Uyeda, recognized the SEC's previous regulation by enforcement stance and said, quote, it's time for the commission to rectify its approach and develop crypto policy in a more transparent manner. The move to dismiss the case was anticipated after Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong joined CNBC last week to share the news. And sticking with the SEC, the agency issued new guidance that says most meme coins aren't securities. A staff statement published yesterday said anyone who offers them does not need to register with the SEC, and purchasers or holders are not protected by federal securities laws. The guidance adds that meme coins are akin to collectibles given their speculative nature and because they're bought for entertainment and cultural purposes. This comes as the public tries to make sense of the meme coin space after recent attention, partially fueled by President Trump's own meme coin, which started trading just days before he was sworn in. All right, to make sense of all these developments from the SEC this week, I spoke with Kit Addleman for our main story. She's a partner in the SEC Enforcement Practice Group of the law firm Haynes Boone. I asked her what she makes of the SEC's recent pivot and what the future of crypto regulation might look like. All right, Kit, thank you so much for being here. Lots of changes happening at the SEC this week with regard to enforcement action. Lots of legal battles were ended or investigations ended seemingly all at once. I mean, what do you make of this about face that we're seeing, and what does it mean for crypto businesses?
I love that you said about face, Jordan. I think that's wonderful. Thank you for having me. It has been a huge week for the SEC in terms of the announcements that are made directly from the SEC, as well as what we're hearing from the companies that have been under investigation or in litigation with the SEC for some time. What we're seeing is directly a result of the change in administration and the change at the commissioner's level, right? We now have a commission that is 2 Republican commissioners and 1 Democrat. And of those 2 sitting Republican commissioners, Hester Peirce has been nicknamed for many years the crypto mom. And there has been a backlash both in the industry and in the administration around the attempt to regulate crypto using ill-fitting tools. And so I think this whole process this week, the undo button, the reverse sweep, all of that is a part of recognizing that it was not a great tool for the SEC to try and take action against crypto companies without sort of thinking it through first, and a retooling of that analysis.
The other thing that we've paid attention to this week are a lot of policy changes that have come out of the SEC. We just heard today that they won't classify the majority of meme coins as securities and will largely look to other federal agencies to handle things like fraud and illicit activity. That's a very hands-off approach compared to the previous iteration of this agency. And on one hand, crypto businesses have argued that the SEC has overstepped and needed to rein itself in. But I don't think there was much talk about maybe either going this far or what would happen in this period between the SEC's about face, as we mentioned, and what new regulation from Washington would look like. And so I guess I'm just curious, do you agree with the assessment that the agency feels more hands-off right now? And does that leave a gap in this regulatory oversight crypto's been looking for?
What I see and what I'm hearing is a hands off with respect to the enforcement side, and that's where we're seeing the big changes. I would agree that the release that the SEC put out yesterday and hit the news this morning on meme coins is new kind of regulation. It's really just staff guidance at this point. Obviously, it's been reviewed by the commissioners, approved before it was issued. So we know that that is their current thinking. But it is just one step on the side of what is this crypto task force. The idea that the SEC is going to be figuring out how best to address the crypto industry, and frankly, what parts fall within their jurisdiction and what parts fall outside. I've been a little bit of a critic related to the ICO offerings and some of the crypto securities that weren't Ponzi schemes, right? Some of them are clearly frauds, and the SEC had every reason to bring those. But just for failing to register when the token doesn't really fit or the product doesn't really fit a definition of a security. The guidance from corporation finance yesterday isn't great. It still leaves a lot of wiggle room, but it talks about or really focuses on the problem the commission had from the beginning, right? It was a ready, fire, aim sort of approach, right? They didn't know exactly how they were going to address crypto, and yet they went ahead and moved forward with a very old SEC versus Howey analysis that's just truly dated. And so now they're taking the step back that they should have done 8 or 10 years ago to say, what is it about a crypto product that needs to fit in the securities role? Is it an SEC product? Is it a commodity that the CFTC should be looking at? And whether there's new rules that we need to guide. I can keep talking about that, Jordan, because I do think there's some new rules likely.
Yeah, I think that's where I want to go next, because it sounds like you believe that this isn't a totally hands-off new way of thinking for the SEC. There is going to be some regulation or guidance coming from the agency. But I guess, what does that look like with this new leadership coming out of the agency? And how do they effectively sort of take into account what the crypto industry has been asking for some time, which is, more conversation, that open door policy that the SEC has promised, while also making sure that they're taking account of consumer and investor protections and market stability, because you do have things like ETFs now trading on U.S. exchanges. There is room for oversight. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see the SEC wholeheartedly give up regulation of the crypto industry, but it'll be more tailored and focused. We have already seen, even before the change of administration, some SEC openness to things like how a staking product interest type arrangement with cryptocurrency could fit into a broker-dealer definition, how you could have it as an ATS or alternative trading system. And the SEC has given 2 of those licenses so far to broker-dealers to do that. I think we'll see more openness to those kinds of platforms, as well as the folks who say, and we've had clients who've said, we don't have any problem with being regulated. What we need to know is, how is that regulation going to occur, and where can we sign up for it? Because they would say, look, we would go to the Division of Corporation Finance, we would go to the Division of Market Regulation and say, we want to be compliant. How do we register? What do we register as? And how do we register our securities offering? And there was no vehicle to do that. So it was really troubling to have the SEC say, you're not registered and we're going to sue you for it, when there really isn't a path to getting registered. So what I see coming now is that registration, is that formula for our clients to be compliant.
Yeah, you go to my next question, and this can be in broad strokes, but what are you hearing from your clients in terms of what is top of mind for them for regulation, whether it be through the SEC or through lawmakers on Capitol Hill? What's top of mind for them?
Well, we're very lucky. Most of my clients are those who have said from the beginning, we're not looking to trade or act outside of the law. It's not that we think that cryptocurrency is a product that shouldn't be regulated by anybody, and there's no reason to worry about protecting the investor public, if you will. So these are folks who are very excited about the changes in the administration, the opportunity that the SEC is going to be providing. Most of them that we've talked to have said, I want to be at the table, right? Commissioner Peirce has started listening, having conversations, asking for specific guidance on what it is that these entities want, and how it would be best for the SEC or whatever agency to regulate them. So our clients typically want to have that voice and be at the table so that they can help to structure what rules and guidance are out there. And I would say I think that's how the system should work, right? Any kind of regulation for anything, you should be hearing from the industry first before you start issuing rules and then seeking enforcement action.
All right, that's all for Crypto World this week. We're back on Monday, and we'll see you then.